Well, some good news and some bad news. It turns out it was a loose socket on this test picture tube, and the filament is glowing on it nicely now. But I took out my high voltage probe and measured this, and there is no high voltage, hence no picture. I also hooked up a speaker, and no sound. Doesn't even react to the volume control. I did pull out a meter and measure the voltage with the aid of this test socket. You can put a tube in the socket and put the socket in the set, and then there's little tabs that come out that expose the voltages in the pins. And this is measuring quite a bit higher than what it should be, like about 75 volts higher than it should be. Which leads me to believe the problem might be with some of the power resistors in this set. That they're not sucking down power like they should be, which should drop the voltage. I've been poking around the set a little bit more, and I've definitely found a pretty significant problem. The set, or what I did was I started measuring some voltages, and here's the main power supply, and there's a main rectifier tube, and then a filter cap, a choke, and another filter cap. And I was getting the same voltage on either side of that choke. And that choke is a pretty, there should be a pretty big drop across it, like 50 to 100 volts, somewhere in that ballpark. And it's not shorted, it measures about 100 ohms. So the only way that's possible is if it's not drawing current. Now, this is kind of an odd set in that it has horizontal and vertical centering controls. Normally you don't have centering controls, you center the picture by mechanically adjusting the coils around the picture tube. But what this set actually has is a couple very low ohmage, like 20 ohm and a 60 ohm potentiometer right across the main supply voltage for the set, and the wiper arm goes actually to one end of the yoke, which are the electromagnets around the picture that sweep the electron beam back and forth. But what these also do is you can see all these voltages to the right of these controls, like 350, 345, 340, 335, and so on. Well, these controls, in effect, form a voltage divider from the highest voltage. So there's this control and this control and a 4K resistor, and there's taps at all these points. So what I did is I measured those controls. The horizontal one seemed okay, but the vertical one is measuring infinity. And I popped it out. It's kind of an odd control. 20 ohm, 2 watt, center tap to 10 ohm. From this side to the tap, I do get about 10 ohms. And if I measure between the wiper and this tap, I do get some readings as I sweep this, but eventually it starts to read open. And this far left terminal is always reading open. So I will pop this open, because it's kind of an oddball control, and I may have some trouble finding it. I doubt I have one on hand. So maybe I can pry open these 4 tabs, and maybe it's just a matter of a dirty wiper arm. But because this is in the main supply chain, if one of these electrolytics shorted, excessive current flowed through this control, could very well have fried the carbon resistive element, and this is just a shot. But on the positive side, at least to try powering this setup, it's just a 20 ohm resistor center tapped, which is 2 10 ohm resistors. So all I gotta do is dig up 2 2 watt 10 ohm resistors, tack one or twist them together, and consider that to be a potentiometer that's just centered. And I'll wire that into these control. These wires are labeled here as the top, the wiper, the bottom, and power the setup, and see what happens. Stay tuned. Okay, I've wired in some resistors below, some 10 ohm resistors, just like I had described, and I've got a tube and an extender socket so I can measure the voltage up top. And I'm going to turn this on. This should go to about 335 volts. Before I was getting more like 475. And it's dropping, it's good. As the set warms up, it's drawing current, the voltage is dropping just like it was supposed to. So it's not too far off if it stabilizes around here. And it's white noise, but that sound, and it is responding to the volume control. Yikes. I don't know if you guys can hear that if the camera picks up that high frequency, but that's the sound when the horizontal oscillator is going nuts and it's oscillating off its resonant frequency, which should be around 15 kilohertz or so. When that gets out of whack, you can start getting a really horrible high-pitched sound coming out of this high voltage cage. So it's a good sign the set's getting powered now. There is some life to it. I'm sure some of those capacitors are off, and probably some resistors too, which is going to throw the frequency of this thing up. I do want to try one last thing though, which is to hook up an antenna, because if it can pick up a signal that can lock on it, like when the TV doesn't receive a signal, you just see that white snow. That's the internal oscillator is running freely to generate a voltage, so things don't burn out. And when it detects a signal, it locks on to a horizontal sync signal that's actually part of the video signal to keep it on 15.75 kilohertz or thereabouts. So if I lock onto a signal, it may pick up that sync pulse and get this thing behaving like it's supposed to. Even if it doesn't though, I'm able to pick up some sound now that I got the audio sort of working. So let me hook up some more stuff and I'll resume the video. Okay, just a set of rabbit ears again, and got a nice big dial on this guy, so easy to find channel 6, which, as if you watched any of my videos, you know we have an over-the-air analog station up on channel 6 that plays like jazz. Alright, good audio, good audio. Better volume than the last few sets I've been working on, so alright. But no picture. Oh, there's that high pitched, horrible sound again. And that actually could also be barking. I'm gonna turn that down. Yeah, I better poke around more underneath that cage or inside that cage and check on some stuff, because I could damage some irreplaceable component if I keep messing around with this set. But yeah, things are definitely looking good, because that means the tuner, the RF stages, the IF stages, the sound detector, like about half of the set I know is good now. The power transformer, the rectifier, the filter caps. So really down to just this box and the sweep components that feed it. I think those are the controls right here. And see this horizontal lock. I guess for the hell of it I could try. Nah, I'm not gonna mess with that. I better check on this stuff inside first before I go fooling around anymore. Alright, I think that's gonna be it for now. I'll pick up maybe tomorrow when I have a chance to go over some more stuff.